So if you were to open up Chrome, which I closed, let's see, go over here. So if you go into Chrome, and if we open up the developer tools, so if we open up our developer tools, we have this console here. Now, if you're doing any like console lookups, you have $, you have $. And this allows you to run different commands, different lookups. You can look for images, you can look for different things. So what WebDriver IO essentially does is it uses all of those Chrome developer tools, and it allows you to essentially look up the exact same way you would in WebDriver that you would in the Chrome developer tools. So you can look up by a CSS query, H2 subquery A, and use the $. You can do by Xpath. You can do the full Xpath lookup, again, $, and you do the path. You can do it by tag name. So you can do await parent. So see here, you can look up, okay, find me the top of the DOM tree, and then you can do parent.get tag name, and it outputs body. Very simple. So if you are used to using the Chrome developer tools, it's almost a no-brainer. It translates almost one-to-one. So you basically create your objects or your constants, and then you use the constants button.click. So this command here returns you the web element if you were in WebDriver, and here's you're essentially getting the element itself as a constant, and then you just walk through it. You can set timeouts. So instead of pause, you actually set your page timeouts, you set your session timeouts, page load timeouts, all that's here. Browser objects, so just like in Selenium WebDriver, you have the capability of configuring the different browser objects for Chrome, Firefox, IE, etc. Mock and spies. This is interesting. I never really thought about this because I've always had to write my own, but they give you the ability to do that top-down, bottom-up approach of testing. So it allows you to create mocks and spies to simulate calls to APIs. So if something doesn't exist or you want to kind of get to the next piece, you can actually put in those drivers and those stubs, the mocks and spies. So this was kind of cool. Custom commands. So you can create your own commands. Page object pattern. I've talked about this exhaustively in other presentations, but unfortunately, WebDriver IO, the page object pattern here has the same limitation if you're looking at the page object pattern for Selenium, for Java, or for any of the other backend tools. Reason is the page object pattern still loads everything into memory while you're testing. Now, granted, this is JavaScript. It's a lot lighter. You're not taking as much of a hit. But if you have a larger page, you're going to run into the same problem where you're going to be trying to load a lot of elements into memory and work with them at once, even if you don't need them. And we have the capability of using debugging. I'll show you how to configure Visual Code so you can actually test your code. We have things like test runner, frameworks, so you can use existing frameworks, Mocha, Jasmine, Cucumber. So like I said, it gives you out of the box. It helps you pick a framework. I'm not a huge fan of Cucumber, but Mocha and Jasmine look pretty straightforward, pretty easy to use. Kind of still follows that behavior-driven development. So you describe your test or you describe your suite, and here's your test. It should do something here, and we call them some things. They still push assertions, which I like, because if you create your own custom assertions, you can reuse them throughout your projects. So this was kind of nice. So you can do await for this, and then you can do await expect chai. So you have some asserts, which are good. You can do test suites. You can do run individual tests. There's some migration if you're trying to move from older. Integration. So here's another thing that I like about this. So they give you auto completion, Docker, GitHub actions, so you can integrate with GitHub, Jenkins, and Bamboo. Reporter, if you want to do different types of reporting, here's all the examples and things that it incorporates with. It's really nice. And services, here's all the different services it also can interact with and engage with. And there's a lot. So from a front end perspective, if you're dealing with JavaScript, this is a wonderful tool to use. However, it does have a lot of the limitations that it is built on top of Selenium. So the fact that this is essentially a JavaScript wrapper for an existing library, it makes me a little concerned that maybe this might not be supported over time. So it's just something to be considerate about if you go down this route and use WebDriver IO. All right, so that's kind of a very high level of WebDriver IO. Some other things we can use, you have the API here, which actually gives you the different commands and that you can use to set up WebDriver. I'm not going to get into that. You can look at that on your own. Here's all those commands I was telling you, the Chrome driver. You can use React commands, save PDF. So this is neat. You don't have to worry about making your own PDF. It's already got that built in. It does screenshots. You can upload a file. That's handy. All these exist in Selenium WebDriver as well. You just have to write the actual, you just have to use or write a method to actually implement this. So you could do it this way in either. All right, so let's jump out of here and go back to our example here. All right, clear this mess. So here we are in our example, but let me go back up one level to my working directory here. And let me open up Visual Code. All right, so here's Visual Code. I've checked out some of those example projects. So I have, I checked out the Appium, I checked out the Cucumber, the Jasmine, and the WebDriver IO master file. Now, before we go look at this, let's actually look at setting up our example project here that we just did and get it to where it'll run in debug mode. So the first thing you need to do is open up Terminal and come down here and do Command Shift B. Yeah, no, not B. It is Command Shift P. I had to write it down because I don't use Visual Studio all that much. So Control Shift P brings up the properties, and then you want to look for Debug Toggle Auto Attach. So if you select this one, it gives you the option to enable the debugger to run every time you run a Node.js process, only when you're in your particular project. You can do it by flag. So I set it to always. So anytime I run a Node.js project, it's going to run the debugger. So now if I come down here and I go into my example 2, and if I wanted to just run the project, I just hit run. You notice down here at the bottom, it turned orange. The debugger was attached. I see my debugger options here. And it failed to run because I actually forgot a command. So if we go back out to our docs and go back to getting started. So if I wanted to run this, we just run the config. So running with Wdio Config, this will run the entire test suite. We'll say yes. Let's see. Example 2. Test modules. It should be there. So look at example 2. We have our test. Yep, everything should be there. There it is. Wdio Config DS. Okay, let me close terminal and reopen terminal. Terminal, new terminal. There we go. If I run command, this will run the entire test suite. And it attaches the debugger. And it runs the exact same test that example 2 had. The only difference here is in this particular project, I actually have some breakpoints. So in Visual Code, I've come out here and I've applied a break. And when I ran the test now, I have my debug tool. So now I can step over, I can run to the end, or I can just skip each step. So here, if I step over, it's going to click login. Let me go back. Now I'm on the secure page. Now it's going to check to make sure that the flush alert to be expected and having text containing you've logged into a secured area. You've logged into a secure area. So now if I just keep walking through, and we're done. So that is how to run in debug. That's all it is. You just turn on the debugger for Node.js, and then you come in and you add breakpoints. So let's go look at the example project. So example 1 is essentially the same as example 2, except apparently I included the alert reporting and another library that was required for Visual Code. So let's walk through. So we have the Wdio Config. This is just the standard configuration file for WebDriver IO. You can set the different specs, tell it where the tests are. You can exclude specific files. How many instances do you want to run? You can set your capabilities, so you can set the browser names, multiple browsers, so you can change from Chrome to Firefox, IE, Safari. Top level info, so you can change your logger to any of the standards, which is nice. Bail, how many tests to run before you kick out. Your base URL, in case you don't, if you all your tests want to start from the sample URL or the top. Here's your default wait timeout for the wait for, connect, retry, connection, retry count. Again, this looks very similar to my framework. So all you essentially are doing are setting property files. We have our package JSON. So this is kind of similar to Maven. So this is where you put all your dependencies. So here we have Chrome, Chrome driver, Jasmine, CLI. Oh, that's right. I did Mocha for this one, and I did Jasmine for this one. So here's our WebDriver IO tests and the scripts. Then we have the locked JSON. So this gets generated for you. JSON config. So you add your compiler options, WebDriver sync, Mocha, Node. Your Node modules, these are installed for you as part of Node. That was where it was asking you, did you want to install the NPM modules? Yes. Your alert results. So we ran our test. So here's our test results.